Hey everyone, Casualties here, coming at you with another video, talking today about a new Anbernic handheld, actually, the RG SP. No 35XX or 34XX, just the Anbernic RG SP. So they dropped this video on YouTube really early this morning, before I went to work, but we're going to go ahead and play this little dot on the screen and kind of get into this. Hear that twang. So obviously they're going through the different clamshell handhelds that well they've released, and then that nod to earlier was obviously a Nintendo thing. 34XX SP. Anbernic. Okay, so a couple things right off the bat. They're getting rid of the joysticks from the 34XX, and they are shrinking the bezel. So this looks to just be mostly a modified 34XX, which I think they made some missteps with their clamshells. The first Mii Flip might have been the perfect flip device if it didn't have sticks and the hinge didn't suck. And this is kind of more or less going to be that, it looks like, in my opinion. So hopefully this is good. So they're shrinking it a little bit. I don't know. I assume that's in comparison to the 34XX. The original SP that they did felt a little bulky for my liking. If the 34XX was more in the vein of the first gen Mii Flip, which it seemed like it was in terms of like size, I think I might like this. Okay, so right here, they're already giving away some of the specs. It looks like we've got the H700 chip, which Anbernic supposedly has a shitload of these. 3.4-inch IPS display, 720 by 840 resolution, 3 times pixel perfect retro gaming. And then Anbernic Linux OS, intuitive and ready to play. We'll see about that. When it comes to Anbernic devices, I usually like the custom OSs more. So dual alloy hinges, multi-angle hovering. Unlike Mii, kind of out the gate, at least in my opinion, their first SP had a really good hinge. So as long as they stick in the same vein that they have been, I don't think that will be an issue. Personally, that's just me. I've not had any issues with their hinges. So it says premium metallic finishes across all devices. I assume that's just in relation to the finish. I doubt these are going to be metal. Anbernic does do that with some of their higher end stuff, but not typically the lower end stuff. So really what it looks like is they took the original SP that they did, not the 34XX, but the 35, and just kind of shrunk it down mostly. Which a lot of people on the internets have, come across and said that this is what we wanted. So it's cool to see that. Also, you've got the little slot right here if you want to put some type of what do they call that? The name's escaping me. I'm gonna remember it in post and editing, and I guess I'll just like a charm or like one style like that where you put your wrist on it, that type of thing. Oh, volume knob. Looks like we got SD card slot. It looked like a power button on the other side. Or something. I don't know. I like what I'm seeing here, honestly. Not really too much else to say. We got some of the specs. This is going to kind of be par for the course with these sort of H700 devices. They're not going to knock it out of the park. I am interested to see storage and memory. Anbernic has kind of gotten caught recently with downgrading their RAM in particular. There's been like some 4 gig devices that have shipped with 2 that people have noticed, some 2 that have shipped with 1, and I think I even saw on Reddit, I was messaging a guy for a while, which is a video I meant to do and have just not gotten around to, about them doing a device with like half a gig. So that might not seem like a big deal to some people, based on the fact that, you know, these mostly emulate PS1 and below, and some people don't. Some people like myself don't even like playing PS1 games on here. The screen's small. I prefer stick options, even though there's like a handful of games maybe where a stick is required. I still kind of prefer to have them in general when it comes to playing PS1. So I don't, if it's a stickless device, if I do play PS1 games, it's going to be something in the vein of like a 2D Mega Man or Castlevania or something like that. Something in that vein where I wouldn't even use the sticks. The 3D games are kind of out, in my opinion. I'd prefer the sticks in that situation. But your mileage may vary as far as what you prefer. That's fine. Interesting device. So I have the 35XX. I have both Miyu flips, the bigger one with the sticks and the smaller one. I wish they would have just done originally just done the one with not sticks and then you know, not shitty hinge, which is pretty much is what this is, but maybe a little bit thinner. I'm not gonna bullshit you guys. I have some interest in this device. Unless this thing's like 50, 60 bucks, I'm probably not gonna buy it. I'm expecting it to launch at a bare minimum in like the 80s. So maybe in a few months, maybe when it launches, and then a few months later after it goes on sale, maybe I'll scoop it up. We'll see. But I'm not. I wouldn't hold out a ton of hope for me buying this thing personally. It just doesn't really speak to me. I used to be the type of guy that would buy different handhelds for different systems and shit. And like lately, all I've mostly been playing handheld wise is either my Switch 2 or my Retroid Pocket 5. Switch 2 for Switch and Switch 2, and then everything retro, mostly with the exception of like these recompiles and stuff. If I'm emulating something, it's usually on the Retroid Pocket 5. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I don't know. This seems really cool. Again, if it's really cheap, I might grab one for review, but I'm not counting on that at this point with the RAM situation. To recap, I think this is really cool, but I'm interested to see both the internal storage, unless they did something really wild, like didn't include internal storage, and then you just like, you know, you're left to throw an OS on a fucking SD card and throw it in there. I don't think anyone's gone quite that nuts yet, but they could, in theory anyway. But I'm interested to see that. I'm really interested to see RAM. If they hamstring the RAM too much with some of these devices, it's going to make building. It's not just that someone builds a custom OS and then they come out with a version that chops the RAM in half and then that screws up the OS. If you launch with a very minimal amount of RAM, it's going to really hamstring what you can do with a custom OS in general when it comes to these type of devices. So we'll see how that goes. But those are kind of my thoughts. We'll see what happens. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff I ask you to do, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.